Hello guys, David Vos here. Another beautiful day in Alabama. The sun is shining this morning. There's a few clouds, but it was raining for quite a while here. Just kind of rainy, and it got cool, and then I think yesterday it got really hot, but it was still kind of cloudy and humid. But I hope you're having a wonderful day where you are. I really do. I hope you can find peace in a world which is, at best, on the brink. There's tension in the air, friends. But this isn't about world events. I want to do a video today, sort of in the series that we were on, and we were talking about stones and crystals. We were talking about the bin on top of the pyramid. I've got some very, very interesting information for you today that I want to share in this video. And as we said, we're going to be unraveling the mysteries. We're going to be, that's weird, raveling or unravel. It's kind of like unreveal. Yeah, it's revealing, raveling. It's a rabble, all right. And you know what? It's weird. I've noticed that when you see the world, when you don't understand it, and you look at all the laws and all the weird customs and all the weird things and books and holy rocks and holy temples and holy people, holy land, and all of these things, you think that, I think your mind immediately grasps down below the surface that there has to have been a reason for all these holy things. That it's come down to us, but somebody's forgotten why we're doing this. So I think maybe the theme of today's video is how obvious it is why we're in a great apostasy, and what that apostasy is, and how these individuals that claim to understand the mysteries today don't understand them at all. You see, I have said that Joseph Smith was the last of the knowers, the seers, the last of the faithful amongst the Masons, among the Christians. Remember, Christianity apostatized. So if you're wondering if Masons became apostate, they must be bad to start with. Well, then Christianity must be bad to start with, because it's all apostate. And I want to share something with you. Very carefully listen to this. When you look at the Pope and you see all the little things he's doing, and a little cross this way and up and down, dunk in the water 3 times and sprinkle the holy water, and voila, and you're saved. You understand that man has no idea what he's doing. He is a hypocrite. He's lost. The reason I say he's lost, or anyone who would do such things, is he's lying. Okay? We know that lie is wrong. To lie is wrong. So when somebody stands over someone else and lays their hands upon them and pretends to impart some secret ritual initiation, but in fact that person has no knowledge of what they're doing, they're lying on a deep level, much deeper than just lying to your friends or lying in a court of law, which is perjury, which they claim is worse, but it's not. Lying to your Father in heaven is impossible. There's no such thing as lying. You can't lie. You can never lie to any human being. That's why we don't have to have laws, because it's like saying, we got to have a law that says don't cut off your left foot. Why would anyone do that unless they're insane? Okay, why would anybody purposefully cloud themselves and shroud themselves in darkness, which is not a choice? It is degradation. It is pain. It is suffering. No one wants pain and suffering. That's the beauty of it. You naturally want to go towards the light, because that's where the happiness is. But everything's been turned upside down and backwards now because of evil, wicked people like the Pope, who pretends to do some ancient ritual and pretends to be all, high and mighty, and he knows what he's doing, and he's conferring upon you some blessing when he has no blessing. That is the height of hypocrisy. And hypocrisy and pride is the greatest sin. But it doesn't stop at just the Pope. All of the Masons that are running around in these Masonic orders conferring rites of initiation and seals and privileges upon their followers. It's a fraud. And they know it. And everyone who participates in this world, you go to a university and you get a degree, and you walk out of there as ignorant as you ever were before, and you pretend now that you're important, and you somehow pretend you know how to take a knife and cut somebody open and do medical things. You have no idea what you're doing. You're prescribing drugs that you don't know anything about. You've been told to do this, and you're watching these people die. You're woefully on the downside, going down into the pits of hell. If you don't stop now, you're going to end up in that place for a long time, and you won't come out until you've paid the last penny. You've got to pay the price for the things that you're doing, because those are the kinds of things. The Lord's not partial. He doesn't keep account of injury. He's not angry at anyone. But you will not be able to forgive yourself when you wake up and find out the harm that you've done to your brethren. As fast as you can forgive yourself and move forward, you can recover, as long as you let go of this pain. When you find out that you're causing your own pain, you'll easily and willingly give it up. But the problem is, it's like heroin. Once you become addicted, the pain of getting off of the heroin is so severe that you're going to have to go through the greatest crisis you've ever been through in your life to get back to where you were. That's how this world is. It's not our Father in heaven that's trying to punish people. He's trying to warn you of the karma that you're piling up against yourself. There's nothing anyone can do. When you dig your way down into the depths of hell and you find yourself in a blazing fire, into the lava and burning pitch down below, and serpents and snakes slithering in and out of your tunnel, and you're being bitten, and you're suffering, and you're thirsty, and you're hungry, and you're tired, and you say, "Why, oh Lord, did you punish me?" You crawled down there. You did everything in your power to reach that place. The one thing I can tell you, there is some good news. Wherever you are, even if you're down there, even into the depths of hell, all you have to do is look up and cry out to the Lord and say, "I'm sorry. Help me to get out of this place." But you see, that will never happen until you realize that you're wrong. So it isn't just the Pope, and it isn't just the Masons. It isn't just the Queen and the royal bloodlines around the world that claim they're superior and have all the money and live in the big castles, and walk around with this air of superiority, and their belief system have delved into some dark place where they're now the White Brotherhood. The elite white people that rule the world. You terrible little indigenous tribes running around in little tutu skirts. You're evil and disgusting. Just a little peasant. Get away from me. Oh, man. You are in for a big surprise. Because you're wrong, and you're woefully wrong. And it isn't just that. It's not just the Mormons who run around pretending they've restored the gospel and they're doing genealogy work and sealing people forever and eternity in their temples and all that stuff. And they are literally lying to you. They have no clue as to what they're telling you. Now, they found some information and they kind of put some things together, make it look like they know what they're talking about. but they're tricking you. They don't know. They are apostate. Joseph Smith tried to restore the truth, and all he was trying to restore is dignity, love, honesty, goodness, talking to angels, not demons, being loyal to your family and your wife, and not wife swapping. The equality of all men and liberty and justice for all, not racism. But those are the things that wicked men easily fell into in this great apostasy. And Joseph Smith, like the Apostle Paul before him, like all the other amazing individuals like Gandhi and others, gave their lives, offered up their lives, that the world may have peace. So, in this video, we're going to talk about signet rings. We're going to talk about amulets, talismans. Where'd they come from? Joseph Smith had a talisman. What is that? Well, it comes from an Arabic word, a Greek word, tela. Joseph Smith knew what it was. He talked about the tela, which is like, we get the word telescope. You know, he understood these words. He was a master astrologer, Joseph Smith. This is why he talked about the place where God dwells on Kolob. That is a word, an Arabic word, which refers to the star at the North Pole. And everything revolves around that star. It's the throne of the divine being. And yet, Mormons today who claim to have had all the gospel restored have no clue as to what Joseph Smith was talking about. Because they didn't understand the mysteries. Joseph Smith did. And when they killed him, they just simply changed all the mysteries and lied to people. And this is what the Pope is doing, and this is what the Masons are doing. They're all apostate, every one of them. Now, they were, as Christians, as people, we weren't all evil. We were trying. We knew about Christ and love, and we heard all that stuff. And we went forward trying to preach the gospel. But there were some evil people that crept in, and Satan got in there. And through pride, he goes, well, I must be the lineage of Christ, therefore I'm the ruler. And they began to deceive and make slaves and beat their fellow servants all over again. So what is this signet ring? I remember when I was a Jehovah's Witness, years, I was a kid, of course, they just fellowshipped me when I was 18. So this was probably way back when I was like, I don't know, I remember sitting in the Kingdom Hall looking at a watchtower or something, and I remember this little phrase in their sentence and paragraph there, and it says something about Solomon's signet ring, or I think it was some other king of like King Ahab or somebody. He had a ring, and it said something about a signet ring, and they just passed over there. And I thought, I knew then, these people don't know what they're talking about. If they did, they'd explain what the signet ring is. They had no clue. And whatever, sly little answer they had for it, it just seemed like it was either they didn't know what they were talking about and they were just trying to hide it. They didn't know what they were talking about by just like, well, we'll get to that later, but they never get back to it. Like, oh, this is very important and we're so smart and we know what it means. But we can't, take the time out of our busy schedule to explain what it means. So let's move on, but we've got very important things we've got to tell you. And I knew right then and there they were lying. They didn't have a clue as what that signet ring meant. And I knew it meant something very, very important. Just like when you see the crown on a king's head and all the jewels. And I wondered, how many points on that crown? And what do the points mean? What are each of the jewels talking about? Well, I didn't understand then that there were 7 chakras. And the top chakra, the 7th, the highest chakra, the first one, would blossom. And there were different symbolisms to understand that blossoming. In Buddhism, they call it the lotus flower. And this is why you see wreaths upon people's heads. Because there was a story in Rome where this great king, he was granted some sort of, he wanted this lover. And she wouldn't love him. So she went away. And if he couldn't have her, I think she turned into a tree. So he ended up taking the tree, the blossoms, and making some sort of a crown. He says, I'll have you with me, you forever. So there's all these symbolisms that people have no clue as to what any of this means. The crown chakra must be ignited, and this is why in the Bible it's called twin flame. Twin flames upon their head. A flame that split in twain, meaning that there are two energies, the physical and the spiritual. But in other places in the Bible, like in the Old Testament, it mentions this rod that Aaron had that blossomed, and it was a almond blossom. Again, symbology. There's different trees. They all have different significance. You got olive trees, you got almond trees, you've got the vine with wine, you have the cedar tree, and each of them represent various things. We talked about the cedar tree representing the holy royal bloodline. And Natsar, or the Nazarene, represents the holy branch, the tender branch that the Lord would preserve, and through that branch would grow a great tree, and it would have great pinions and, great branches that would go forth and cover a grand, amazing area and give the place shade, and all the animals would come under the shade of this great tree and take protection. So people look at the Bible and they don't understand. They see, well, this tree represents government, and the mountains represent government, and everything's government. And they don't know the little distinctions between each of these symbols. They don't know what the olive tree represents or the fig tree. Distinctly different things. And when the popes and the masons and stuff are doing all of this stuff, they think they have a vague idea, and they don't think that it matters if they know everything. Somewhere or another, these ancient rituals are just carried on, even if nobody knows what's going on. And in their pride, they apply everything to themselves, even though they don't know what it means, like Jehovah's Witnesses. They're always applying all the prophecies to themselves. And they're always saying it appears, and maybe, and possibly, and so, since Jehovah protected those people because they trusted him, not actually, they didn't trust Jehovah, they had to, they'd get destroyed. But they'll find some verse where Jehovah, brought peace to the land for 40 years or something. So therefore, if we just take refuge in Jehovah, which somehow translates to his organization, which they claim they are, then everything will be fine. But they're lying, and you know it. All of these things are lies. So what is this signet ring? What is the word signet ring? Well, it sig has a little G in there. Why is it a signet? Why do you stick a G in there? Same reason why we have a G in the word sign. Right? It's a sign. It's an omen. Here's your sign, your redneck. But what does it mean to be a sign? To let somebody know, or to determine. It's like a symbol, isn't it? It's a symbol. Well, who writes these symbols? How do we know? I mean, what's your symbol? What's your sign? I don't know. I mean, would you just make it up? These people that running around, they're going and getting little signet rings today and they have no idea what they mean. Or people that are involved in astrology have no idea what astrology ever was. It's been contorted, and it's an apostasy. Everything is an apostasy. And by the way, have you ever wondered why they're pushing rings so much? I mean, the ring in your ear. All the people, all the folk, and the young ones are running out and getting earrings. Whether you're a girl or a boy, they put them in their ears, the big holes in their ears now. Put them in their nose. Do you know what that means? It means you're a slave. They're trying to get you to accept the fact that you're nothing but a slave. And usually these things are just like little iron rings, or, just some steel ring or something, or silver. But the gold rings with the signet, the powerful rings of authority, that belongs to the Masonic order. They have the rings. And yeah, Jehovah's Witnesses wear them too. There's nothing in the world that you can go into a book or a dictionary and read it and it'll tell you the truth. Astrology is not supposed to be to tell you what you're going to have for dinner tomorrow. It doesn't tell your future. It tells you who you are. Because you see, there are only 12 houses. And each house has a sign. There are animals and other symbols. Well, in astrology, nobody said, like, who invented this? Who made the signs up? I don't know, but all the nations have these same signs. Every one of them. They all have the 12 houses. We have the 12 hours in a day and the 12 months of the year. 12 aeons. Christians read this thing called the ages of the ages. They have no idea. It means the aeons. They don't know how long an aeon is. They don't know anything about astrology because that's pagan. We don't believe in that. And the ones who do believe in it, they're using it for evil. They don't understand it. They're lying about it. They're enticing people to get involved with it, not even knowing what they're doing, pretending they can tell their future. And then they get money for that. Or they pacify them. Oh, well, you're a valiant person and your sign says you're going to have fortune. And it's all lies. I will tell you what the meaning of astrology is. There were 36 deacons and there are 36 male and female, make 72 of the deacons because there's day and night, 12 hours and 12 hours again, make 24. That's why there's 24 elders around God's throne. So the 36 deacons really is 72 for the night and the day. And 72 and 72 is 144. And so this is where you get the 144,000. There are 144,000 who will be standing on that Mount Zion. But it all comes from the one, doesn't it? And the one is split in half and becomes two, male and female. And then they have a son. That makes three. That's how it works. And then there are 7 from Adam unto Enoch, the great 7, in the 7 days of the week and the cyclical thing. And then there are the 10 patriarchs down to Noah, or the 10 kings upon the great beast of this world. Then you have the 12 houses, and then you have the 72 nations. And so what it means is that there only are in this world, there's only one being, and that is the divine being. There's only one truth, and that is the real truth. And everything else is a lie. There's only one creation, and that is the creation of the Lord. And this illusion has nothing to do with the Lord. Is no part of his world. We don't go by the laws of this world. We don't follow after this world. This world isn't even here. It's an illusion. It does not exist. You're making it up in your mind. It appears to be real because that's what you're seeing in your head. You created this world, the ego. And all the other little egos in this world are somehow trying to maintain the illusion. And you're participating. So, why is it that if you go back and you look up these signet rings, you'll find it has something to do with talisman and amulets, and they put them all together, and they have no clue what any of this is. You know, why is some stone special? Well, each of the 12 had a special stone. There were 12 special stones on the breastplate, the ephod, and then there was the Urim and Thummim, which was put into a little pouch among the 12 stones. The 12 stones are a particular identity. They have an exact color, a certain hardness, a certain brilliance. They're very specific. And each stone, each kind of stone, is assigned to one of the 12. And if you wanted a specific talisman made for you, you would have to determine. This is why Mormons talk about genealogy and heraldry. Because the symbols that are in heraldry are astrological symbols. And that's how you determine what tribe you are, what month you were born in. You don't, oh, I worked so hard for this position. Oh, look, I'm a Judean. I'm the powerful ruler of the world. But Paul says, you're not a Judean on the outside, but on the inside. If you're wanting to achieve that royal position, it has nothing to do what you ignorant fools think it has to do with. It has nothing to do with your pedigree. There are 12 tribes, that's for sure. But it has nothing to do with skin color. It has nothing to do with race or nations. It has to do with when a person is an elder. You have to point out the elders in your congregation. What does that mean, to appoint? It doesn't, we've turned that into some apostate word. Everything's apostate. We don't appoint elders. We point them out. That's what the word means, to point them out. Recognize them. That's all. Recognize your elders. It doesn't mean go and appoint them to some office and give them a badge. Tell them that they're the boss now. Put on a pedestal. Well, that wouldn't fit with what Jesus was saying when he says, let the one who's leading you be your servant. Look, I'm washing your feet. You should all wash each other's feet. You're all the servants of everyone else. Call no man your father, nobody rabbi. For you're all brothers and sisters. You have one Father who's in heaven. Jesus did not say that we're supposed to appoint people into positions of power. There are no qualifications for an elder, except that one is wise and older. That's it. Point them out if you find one that's your daddy, someone older and wiser than you. Recognize them and listen to them. That's all it's saying. So there are 12 houses, and if you're born into one of those houses, then that's your stone. But it's much more than that. Every human being can't all be one of 12, right? Like there's 8 billion people in the world. So it'd be like 500 million people are from one tribe, another 500 million from another tribe, and there's 12 tribes, right? No. There's a whole, it's just like, I always use the example of colors. How many colors are there? Well, there's millions of colors, right? All different varieties and shades. But actually, there's only 3 colors: red, yellow, and blue. And blue and yellow makes green. So now you got another color. But it comes from blue and yellow. So it's not as pure. It's not as high. Now, from the 3, you go to 7. The 7 colors of the rainbow. And those 7 are higher than other colors. Like purple, orange, green. Those are higher than chartreuse. More pure anyway. Because purple, though it's not its own color, it's not blue, red, or yellow, but it is high up the chain to where it is the son of blue and red. Purple is. So it's only one generation removed. So the 7 are elders to the other colors. They're before, they're prior. And so all the other colors like chartreuse and burnt umber and turquoise or whatever other color you can think of, they have to say, okay, I'm a beautiful color, and I owe my beautiful splendor to my father, who was blue, and my mother, who was yellow or something. And respect that, and I appreciate that. I am what I am, says Popeye the Sailor Man. And this is what I am at this time in this world. Because we can't be in any other world than the world that we're in emotionally and mentally at this time. When we grow out of this concept, then we create a new concept and we'll go somewhere else and they may not even have colors there. But in this world, somebody came here first. Our father Adam and our mother Eve. And we respect that. And they're beautiful, brilliant. They got the glory that you can't even look upon them. And we're not. Now, there are individuals that live in the world today that are the original 12 are here. But everyone else is a duplicate. Everyone else is a copy. There are distinct characteristics that make up certain people. We've got several groups of individuals. And as you go up the line, you get to the highest. So you've got the 10, you've got the 12, you've got the 7, you've got the 3. And the top ones are 72. And there's 72 nations, and the 72 individuals are the fathers of those tribes. So everybody in that tribe is partly mama and partly daddy and partly, they're mixed. So they're not as pure. But they're beautiful and distinct, and they have their own character. And if you're going to understand who that person is, you're going to have to say, okay, what day were you born? What was your destiny? Why did you come to the earth? Who were your parents? What was your destiny? You're not looking at the stars that are somehow controlling you. The stars only serve as hands on a clock. They're not important. They're just determining what time it is. What's important is the moment that you were born. The moment that why would that be important? Well, because then we could find out at that moment who were your parents. I mean, like, you came into being at this precise moment. Oh, that happens to be the moment that you were conceived. By who? Oh, you've got parents. Now we know who you are. See, the Lord didn't throw us all down here without knowing who we are, being able to keep track of all this. And it's beyond any mundane mental gymnastics that humans can come up with. You can't do it with a computer. You can't figure it out with science. Or closing your eyes real tight and straining your brain cells. You just go and look at the book and you read what it says. The Lord wrote it. The book was written in the sky. It was written by Adam, actually. Adam named all the animals in the garden. That was all the characters. Adam understood and knew them, and they were all made for Adam. Adam was the Lord of this creation. And his wife Eve. And remember, Eve didn't come from Adam. That's not what the Bible says. It says Adam and Eve were male and female. They were whole. They were one. And Yahweh cut them in half and made a distinction by means of law so that they now were divided. One half of what Adam was the male, and one half of what Adam was the female. And they had other kids. And as these children come along, they are products of the Adam and the Eve, the whole. They're pieces of the whole. They're beautiful distinctions. And one day they will go out and leave their father and mother and stick unto their wife, and they will become one flesh, and then they will be the whole, and they will create children. So don't think, oh my goodness, I'm not the greatest, and I'm going to cry. You will be if you understand that the same principle is going on for all eternity. Jesus Christ has a father. Did he go, oh, it's not fair, I want to be the father? No, Jesus loves his father and mother. But Jesus is the heir. He knows that. And his father handed everything unto him. And he'll hand it all unto us. But we've got to understand, you don't just say, I am the greatest, and I'm going to beat my fellow servants, and I'm in charge, and ruthlessness and anger. That means you have no knowledge of reality. You're deceived. And the only reason we're in this world and being deceived is because somebody has forgotten love. And that's called the great apostasy. And that's what we're living in. We're in a great apostasy. And it's getting worse and worse because nobody wants to admit that the emperor has no clothes. Nobody wants to admit that their church is just lost. They don't have the truth. Why don't Jehovah's Witnesses just come out tomorrow and say, look, we're sorry. We're just sorry. We made a big mistake. I mean, it wasn't my fault. It was our predecessors. And we're not going to perpetuate this injustice and this ignorance and these lies. We just don't know. And if the Mormons would just say, look, we killed Joseph Smith. We made up the whole polygamy thing. We're sorry. We're not going to continue to perpetuate these lies. We don't know what we're doing. We don't have a clue. The Pope just walked out one day and said, you know what? Took off his crown and unrobed and threw it on the ground and said, listen, these are symbols. They mean nothing. Especially since I don't know what the heck they mean. I'm lying to you. And you're believing me. Stop it. And the president, he's being inaugurated and he's walking through the red carpet. He has no idea what these symbols mean. But if he thinks he deserves it, that he's the one supposed to walk down the red carpet, then he's a hypocrite, because that red carpet is for every soul that finally gets his crown. And it says in the Bible that everybody will get their white robe and their crown. And guess what else we're going to get? Now, he's going to roll out the red carpet for all of us. But guess what else we're going to get? A little stone with a new name written upon it that no one knows but the one who receives it. What do you think that means? Well, that is the signet ring, and that's what we're talking about today. A signet ring, all the elite had them for a long period of time, and they would sign documents, and they were also called seal rings. And sometimes they would just have these little cylinders that were like seals, but the seal would always have the specific sign or signet or impression or mark, heraldry. And what was that little heraldry? Well, it was some kind of animal or a symbol. Well, who made up these symbols? It's astrology. The Lord made it up. It's written in the stars. Every star is a symbol. A little group of stars is a symbol of an animal or another kind of symbol. They're not just animals. Some of them are crowns and crosses and bows, and there's a man up there, several people, there's women in the sky, there's animals, there's mountains, there's lots of different of these symbols. And to understand all of the wisdom, one just needs to be initiated into all of these symbols and understand what they mean. But it's been lost to mankind. They're handing down, like the Pope, he's redoing these symbols, these rituals, and he doesn't know why he's doing it anymore. They've lost it. It's called the apostasy. And that is what makes room for the arrogance or the man of sin, the hypocrisy, the pride. That's what makes room for people in their ignorance to say, I am God. I'm better than you. Do what I say. Slavery, all of this. Yahweh in his egotistical, twisted mind was angry with because the people weren't wise, and they were just little babies, and they didn't know what, the best thing was to do, so they made mistakes, and Yahweh got angry. But what did Jesus do when the people were hungry? They didn't have faith. Did you just get mad at them? Because the people in the days of Moses didn't have faith either, but Moses didn't get mad at them, but Yahweh did. Started killing people because they were wanting water and bread. Jesus, what kind of a God? You ask for bread and he gives you serpents, or gives you a stone. That's what Yahweh did. Jesus said, I have compassion, bring them to me. So, where these symbols got started was Adam had a symbol. His sons had symbols. They were pure. They were the top. They represented the very top of these understandings, this language. And these individuals were born, and each of them were born in this family, the genealogy, and they all had their heraldry. There are only so many of these symbols. At some point, the nations were formed, and they had their heads, And they all stood with their banners, the 12 tribes. They had a banner. What does that mean? Heraldry. And it tells you, and we read it in Genesis, and both Genesis and Deuteronomy talks about each of the tribes and each of their animals and their symbolism as to what they would do. Not only just their symbolism, but what that symbol would represent and what it would do. That's their character. That's who they are. It doesn't mean prophecy like, oh, I was born under the influence of the stars and there's nothing I can do. I'm a criminal, or I'm going to be rich, or I'm going to be powerful. No, that's not it. If you were born as the holder of that character, then that's who you are. Then the angels will minister unto you. Your destiny is sealed because that's your heraldry. If you can find your star, then that is your destiny. But people don't know what it means. Why did they use their little talisman? Because they went through initiations originally in ancient times. They were going through initiations, and they would determine through astrology who they actually were, what their destiny was. Not because they could tell if they were going to get rich or powerful tomorrow, they were going to run into a princess or anything about the future. But who they were in the past, who they are, and therefore what they will receive by right. Now, once you receive what you get, what you're to be given by right, with humility, you kneel down and they knight you with the sword and anoint you with oil and pour upon you the blessings of your destiny that was written in the stars. That's what it is. You were born that way. Nothing you can do about it but to fulfill your destiny. And when you have fulfilled your destiny, then you will go to another realm where you will then be in another classroom, in a much higher classroom. And you may be the ruler in that world, or you may be one of the rulers, or less, or whatever. But you must go through the ranks. Because everyone will be raised up, each in his own rank. First Christ and the first fruits, then those who are his at his coming. Afterwards, when he shall hand over all things unto his God and his Father. And everything shall be given back unto the Father. What does that mean? It means that the Father's family, his Father's destiny will have been achieved. Our Father in heaven is not going to stop until his destiny is achieved. And that is that all of his children have come home. And he will not stop. He's patient. He'll wait forever. He will not lose a one, not a one. Except the son of destruction. In other words, our Father had two children, the flesh and the spirit. The flesh is destined to die. That's the destiny of it. The lower orders are burned off like the dross. Their job is, that lower nature is going to die. The higher consciousness, which is you yourself, not the illusion, but the reality, will live and you will never die. So the kings in ancient times were still aware, some of them, who their nationalities were, and they had favor, and if they could prove they were of the Judean, they had royal blood, they would become some rank in this world rulership. But at this point, when Christ came, he says, I'm taking this away from you, giving it to those who produce and gets fruit. And there had been this, the dispersion, and the seed was mingled in all the world, and nobody knows who they are anymore. There was a great apostasy. And the ones who are really the rulers, the humble, that know by spirit, who have the seal of the Heavenly Father upon their forehead. That means they know who they are by spirit. Not that it's written upon their hand or their forehead, which is a false, fake identity that leads to death. So these people are running around with their signet rings and their royal bloodlines and their great positions of pomp and piousness. And they're liars. They're apostate. They have no clue who they are. And they're not the true Judeans. It says say they are Judeans, but they're not. They are liars, it says in Revelation chapter 3. And Paul makes this statement over and over again. They are not Judean, who is one on the outside, but one on the inside. Because the outside now, no one can determine, because we've lost all these ancient mysteries that were there. They were mysteries, but they were sealed by the Lord, and no one's going to know all of these mysteries. Because they're written inside us, and we will play them out. Our destiny will be played out. But the hypocrites and the apostates are continuing to rule over the others and lie to the others. And they're continuing with these symbols as though somehow they know what they mean, and they're running around making models of the universe when they know not what they're talking about. Friends, I have just been given a revelation about the shape of the earth. And no, I'm not a flat earther now. But the Lord continues to give me information and enlighten my mind. I'm going to do some videos about that. Oh, hold on, friends. Hold on to your hats. We have been so lied to and so deceived. Woo, buddy. Everything is a lie. So the signet ring was a king's ring. He could seal documents in his own name or under his exact astrological sign. He was proven to be royal bloodline, whose father was so-and-so, and his sons were so-and-sos, and they had all the genealogies and all the right to firstborn. And this right gave them some sort of ability to tell others what to do. So they'd take and they'd go through the initiations and get by the wise priests, which were astrologers. They would determine exactly what time of day they were born and so forth, and they would be able to determine their destiny, what they were. They were the rulers. And now these documents are their edicts and their declarations of law. Like today we sign our name and that proves that we did it. Well, because we have a specific signature. Well, they had a specific symbol that was given to them by destiny because of their birthright. And if they went back to Judah, then they were a pure line from Judah, and the firstborn of their father and the firstborn of his father, then they had the right to reign. And their signet ring could be like a seal. They would write this certain symbol that illustrated who they were, and they could put a little piece of wax on the scroll and imprint their seal. And now it was an official document. So they could make laws, but now the Bible talks about somebody that got a hold of somebody's ring and was making all these decrees and laws with their father's signet ring, and this was something that was spoken of in the Bible. So there were ways around that, but at least they knew that if that would only happen, and then later on they might find out the king had died and somebody was using his ring. Well, then they could just go back retrospect and find out when he died and just erase all those edicts. So at least that was the best way they could tell. It was like DNA. It was like, this is who this person is. You can't lie because it's in the stars. God wrote it down, right? It wasn't man. God wrote it down. So there's all kinds of stuff that we're going to be covering. We've covered a lot of it in the past, but we're going to put it together very, very clearly over the next few videos and over the next few weeks and months. But we're going to talk about the Urim and Thummim. Now that has something to do with these 12 stones, because there were 12 stones on the breastplate, and then there was the Urim and the Thummim. Now what does that mean? Well, we'll just do a whole video on that because it's beautiful. But we do know what that means. The Thema is the same goddess Alethema. The Egyptians did this. It meant truth. The goddess of truth. And so it really didn't necessarily mean two stones, but it meant meant the revelations and truth. And it came by means of the Holy Spirit. All revelation and truth comes by means of the Holy Spirit. And human beings have to use their mind for that. But just as today we use computers and, calculators or math or whatever to help us or amplify our ability to learn and grow. Language itself, these symbols themselves, are the language, and they will be like a tool to help us learn. So, these stones weren't just only like dice, you throw them. Had nothing to do with that. They were inscribed with symbols because they were of a specific quality of stone that had a specific hardness, a specific code. And then they inscribed on the crystal a certain symbol, which would be your particular lineage and heritage, your heraldry. Your identity when you were born, it was a talisman. It was a blueprint of your destiny. Well, I am the son of David, that's my destiny. I am his son, and I was born on this day, and I was the firstborn, and I have the right of firstborn, and I am the ruler. And so these rocks gave people knowledge of who they are, not of what they're going to do because some star is going to tell them what to do. But they are before the stars. They are the reality. And their reality was written in the stars because we come into this world and we create this world with our mind. We have a purpose. There's a plan. Our Father in heaven made a plan. And everybody's going to follow the plan. And no matter who you were born on a certain day. You were sent down here on a certain day, in a certain hour, to certain parents to fulfill some certain destiny. And remember, most of the people in the world today are only copies. They're just children. They're not even close to getting ready to leaving their father and mother and go becoming one and having their own star system. They're just little children. Look at the Chinese. They all look the same. Look at the, certain race, all have the same identifications. And they can trace their identity back to their fathers. Now, today, everyone that's ever lived is on the earth. And there is a small group of people, the 144,000. And everything, the children's and all their DNA and everything is within that group of people. Because everyone else's DNA somehow goes back to their DNA. So it's the fathers who will then be the rulers who will be brought back to the world, incarnated, and give birth to the rest of mankind. They'll all receive another life, and they'll determine what day they'll be born, who their parents will be. So, for instance, some of you may have had parents in this life, and you think that's your mom and your dad. Well, in the next life, it may not be. Now, it may be. It could be that they're your children, not your parents. It could be their sister, your brother. But people that you know, your family members, are usually always going to probably have something to do with your family. You kind of incarnate with your family. That's a sort of a normal thing. So if you have a father and a mother, they may very well be your father and your mother. Or they may just be, they may have been appointed to become your father to learn that role, but that was only because you were needing to be humble. Maybe they were your children in another life and you didn't do a very good job. And you had to come here and learn what it was like to be their sons. But your DNA is clear. Your destiny is that you're not the son, you're the father. Or you're the son and not the, whatever it might be. But we all are under the destiny, the book of destiny, the book of the dead, it's called in Egyptian. And they also call it the book of life. And in the Bible it's called the book of life. But what that means is the book of destiny. And that's why it says our Father in heaven will not blot our names out of the book of destiny. So don't be afraid, don't worry. You have a destiny. And if it's not a great destiny yet, it will if you're faithful to the whatever your destiny, maybe your destiny is to raise a child and love that child and give it everything that kid's going to need to succeed. The child's going to do some great thing. Maybe your job is just to raise that child in this life. You prove faithful in that deed, and in the next life, because you proved faithful and you saw your children achieve the things that they were destined to achieve, and you helped them do that. Now, in the next life, your destiny is going to be much, much, much greater. When we go from destiny to destiny, it goes exponential. But as long as we're in this life, we are here to fulfill one particular destiny. Not an eternal destiny, because we're going to progress eternally. Forever and ever and ever. There's no limit to our greatness. But we must be humble and accept that particular thing that we were destined to do in this world now. We must be faithful over that which is least. And he who is faithful over that which is least shall be faithful over that which is much. And if you're faithful for that which is least, then you will get a reward of much in the coming system. But these are what these stones and signet rings were for. The elite, they had these grandiose signet rings and they thought they were so powerful, but it was an apostasy. They don't have a clue who they are. They don't know how to even do it. They don't know anything about astrology. They got several systems. And the whole system is backwards. As I said, it used to be that the first month was in the fall, and then that was the civil year, and then it was the first month is in the spring, and that's the spiritual year. And then Rome comes along and starts it in the middle of winter, right in the middle. So you can never determine what day it is, what month it is. You'll never know. You cannot determine from the astrology as it is today. You cannot know your destiny from that. Because it doesn't come from that. They're doing it wrong. It comes from the mind. One must have a spiritual witness. And his spirit bears witness with our spirit. We need revelation. And that comes from the Urim and Thummim, which is connected to astrology. But they're not doing it right. You can't go to an astrologer and get an accurate story about who you are and what your destiny is. All they're going to do is fill your head full of, lies. Like, oh, you're going to have, wealth, or you're going to have... They try to find something that you'll like to make you think, oh, goody, goody, I'm going to go to this astrologer and he's telling me all the things I want to hear to tickle my ears. That is not astrology. Astrology is not about fortune, material wealth. It doesn't tell you whether you're going to be rich. It's only going to tell you whether or not you have the pedigree of your destiny and what you are in this world sent here to do. It is not what people are saying. So we've talked a little bit about the signet ring, just vaguely to give you a basic idea what it is. Remember, Joseph Smith had one because he understood astrology. There are those who do understand astrology, but it's not what these shysters, in the newspaper articles are doing. It's nothing to do with true astrology. I mean, think about it. Back in the days of Newton, they didn't know what they were doing either. And that's why John Dee and Edward Kelly opened up the pits of hell and started talking to demons, because they were lost. They were like Saul, who, Yahweh wouldn't talk to him anymore, so he went to the wise woman of Endor, and she brought up Samuel from the dead, and he made a prophecy. So they can't get an ear with the Lord, the true Lord. They can only get an ear with a liar if they do the liar's will. So they go to the devil, and the devil will talk to him, like Aleister Crowley. The wise ones, like Benjamin Franklin, those individuals, they wouldn't help Aleister Crowley. Well, not Benjamin Franklin, it was a different era, but the Anybody who had any wisdom at that point when Aleister Crowley was on the earth, he searched everywhere for it and he couldn't find it. So he just made it up by cutting on himself and doing all kinds of sacred, like killing animals, going back to the Yahweh and begging for Yahweh and his lying spirits to come to him and raise him up to power, the power of the beast, as Hosea 13 says, which is a lion, leopard, bear, and a 10-headed dragon, weird monster beast, just as it is in Revelation. And there it says that is Yahweh. And Yahweh tells the same story in Daniel chapter 2 and chapter 4. He says, I am the one who makes kings and brings them down. And you, O Babylon, I made you, and I'm going to make you a beast. You rule for me. I am Yahweh. That's my kingdom. But this is no part of Jesus' kingdom. And everything that is in this world is a copy. So Yahweh made his own 144,000, his own 72, his own, Sanhedrin of 72 that rules the world, and condemned Jesus for breaking the law, his law. So when these individuals like John D. brought up these spirits, they brought up demons, lying spirits from Yahweh, and they've set up the kingdom of Yahweh. And they're not talking to the angels, they're talking to Yahweh. But our angels always appear before our Father in heaven. And they are they not, ministering spirits sent forth to minister to those who are to have salvation. But how do we talk to an angel? Well, we've got to reject the devil first, which John D. did not do, which Joseph Smith did do. He sought only the Lord. His heart was pure. As Elijah was. He sat and he saw the fire and the storm and the earthquake, and he says God wasn't in that. That wasn't his God. But he waited until he heard this still small voice, the witness within him, his temple, which is powerful, but it's a still small, quiet. Peace and love is much more powerful than the storm god. And so the people of this world, they have found answers, but they've looked in the wrong place, and they've gotten the lying spirits or the demons that are setting up this world. It's a great apostasy, friends, and we're going to get more into it. We're well over an hour. We're going to explain the whole thing. I hope you have a wonderful day. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a good one.